Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook. This podcast is all about musicians and those inspired by music to talk about how they are making the world a little more harmonious. And it's all based on a quote I once heard from Quincy Jones saying, "Imagine what a harmonious world it would be if everyone shared a little of what they are good at." So past guests on Harmonious World include Grammy winners, Grammy nominees, those starting out in music, and people who just do what they do because they're brilliant at it. Alongside Harmonious World, you can read my reviews of live shows and albums. The links are all in the show notes. Please feel free to subscribe, share, and you can even support the show, and that link is also on the show notes. For this episode, I am joined by trombonist Dave Keech, who happens to be a friend of mine. It's weird, isn't it? I like trombonists. So Ashley Slater is a very good friend of mine, another one. Dave Keech's new EP, Tokyo, is out in October. What you're listening to now is Americanology, which was the first single, and there's a new single out later this week. So I hope you enjoy listening to my conversation with Dave Keech. Dave Keech, welcome to Harmonious World.
Thank you, Hilary.
It's a real pleasure because obviously I've known you for a long time as a trombonist and as you run Jazz Up. Yeah, in Hitchin.
You can call it whatever you like, by the way.
Well, yeah, it's jazz. Jazz
Yes.
Up in Hitchin. But you've had an incredible career and now you've got an EP coming out. Yes. So we've got a lot to talk about.
We have.
Let's start off with talking about this new EP.
Yeah. It's single's already out. There's one single that came out in April. Another one's coming 25th of July. And then the full EP launch is on the 22nd of October. And that'll be at the 100 Club. It's one of those projects I've been meaning, like we all have been meaning to do it for many years. The tunes were floating around. I'd had these tunes that I'd sort of gigged a bit and they were kind of half-baked, and somehow they coalesced into being actual. I sat down and kind of wrote them and wrote some little arrangements. And then a good friend of mine runs a studio, James Ribbons. He's got this studio in Suffolk. And he said, look, I've got some space and why don't we do it? Do an EP. It was really his idea. Why don't you do an EP? And I just thought, well, yeah, of course, that's fantastic to have someone who you know really well and trust and who's brilliant at what they do, to have a bit of time to offer and be interested in the project. So we co-produced it, and it was a lovely thing to sort of sit down and think, right, how are we going to do this? What would be... And I've always been really interested in reggae, soul, ska, lots of subcultural things that I sort of grew up with, but I've spent my life playing jazz. So it was, the nucleus was to kind of somehow fuse everything that I knew about jazz and that I loved about jazz, and my own playing, which comes from a jazz perspective, with those kind of other influences. And that's really what we did. And then it was I suppose the critical moment was kind of landing the idea of who we should get to do it.
Yeah, because obviously that's a critical thing, isn't it? So who did you get?
Well, we knew it'd be fairly groove based, and so we wanted a really solid rhythm section. And we got Nim Sadot on bass.
I love his playing.
He's a wonderful player.
Yeah,
Nim, I sort of met on a couple of gigs. He was a friend of James, who produced the album. And, you kind of go through everyone you've played and think, who would be a great bass player? And we thought, Nim would be great. Yeah. Then we thought of drums and we thought of Corey Dick.
Of course.
And so it was wonderful. thing that we kind of we made that decision, but of course we had to then get in touch with them and see if they were up for it.
Yeah.
And Corey I'd known from Jazz Up.
Right.
He'd been there with Dinosaur with
Yeah.
Laura Judd, so I'd met him through that. Loved his playing. Had a chat to him as well about music. You know, it's often not just about playing. You kind of vibe with people, and you kind of know you get on with people.
Yeah.
And so we called Neem and Corey, and they were just really up for it. And we thought, well, okay, we're out of the starting blocks.
Yeah.
We were able to. We just spent a couple of days laying down those rhythm tracks and really thinking carefully about how that would work. And they brought a lot to it as well. The whole concept was to. I got the sort of nucleus, the idea, the songs, but I really wanted people to bring their own vibe. You know? So it wasn't like play these charts.
No.
There was a kind of a bit of a structure. There were some things that we'd recorded before, and I actually sort of wrote a few little things and showed them some pictures and said, look, you know, think of that.
Right.
I tried to get them into the zone that I was in.
Yeah.
And that seemed to work. We got playing, and then they did, you know, take it in their direction, and which was really interesting. So that was our foundation.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because both of them, I think it's really funny that, you know, the expression "think outside the box." It's really interesting. On one occasion, I saw Corey playing with Rob Luft, and they were at Maida Vale at the BBC studios doing it was an event for New Year's Day 2024, I want to say. Anyway, saw the recording of this, and at one point during the playing, during a number, Corey picked up a box of percussion instruments.
Yep.
And I thought, oh well, he's going to choose a few things out of there, and you know all sorts of things. But he didn't. He used the actual box with the stuff in to get this real kind of almost random percussion that wasn't clearly, because it was very rhythmic.
Yeah.
But it was really, really interesting, and I thought that's typical. That summed up Corey for me, because I think he literally sees ways of getting musicality out of anything. And he's just such a, like you say, the groove. He's just such a great player. Yeah,
that really chimes with what happened, and he took that approach. We kind of established our feels for those tunes, and then he made like an what I would think of as an evolving groove.
Right.
You know, his playing throughout all of the tracks moves. The groove is always there, but he kind of, and you know, there's arranged elements where there's stops and different passages, and obviously he's on those, but it's not a conventional approach to that more sort of dance influenced music,
right,
where the kind of backbeat is so important. He's definitely playing different things towards the end of the tune to what he was at the beginning, and it's just fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
And he plays percussion on everything as well.
Right.
We kind of redid everything, he put the percussion on it.
Wow.
And I know for a fact he was doing, because I've got some video, he was using percussion to hit the drums with.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing, isn't it?
It's that. And then it's sort of, there's a bit on the end of one of the tracks where he just randomly decays it. It like puts some things down, but it's intended.
Yeah.
That there.
Yeah.
And that became the end of the tune. It's just like, we've got to keep that.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. You
no,
know?
Absolutely. So you got Nim on bass, Corey on drums, you on trombone?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, so...
Did you do anything else? Did you do any singing, Dave?
No.
Because you should, because I love your voice.
Oh, yeah.
I know you've done it sort of fairly light-heartedly at Jazz Up before, but actually...
It's usually when my chops get tired.
Right.
That's seriously where it evolved from.
Right.
I never was a singer, but I've so many gigs over the years, and I thought, I just need to put the trombone down for 10 minutes. And especially functions, you know.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
That's it. I'm glad you raised that. We had done a few takes historically before we got the guys in of me singing, and it's a nice point about music really. Once James and I understood what the track's going to be like, and I'd written the lyrics, we just knew that it just wasn't my voice.
Right.
We need someone who, two things. want someone who's just going to come in and nail it.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely nail it. I'm not a trained singer, so I haven't got the ability to do that. I might sing all right and maybe do half a good take, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's a different thing, a pro
yeah.
singer.
Yeah.
And also we had this image that, you know, there were two feels for the vocals. One was a very, very sort of traditional soulful delivery, because that was very influenced by like Northern Soul and the records that I heard as a kid, as a teenager. And the other one was like a real gnarly sort of funk feel, which my voice just doesn't do.
Right.
So Neem recommended a friend of his called Andre Espo.
Oh.
And I don't know if you know Andre.
No, I don't at all.
He's a very well respected singer on a kind of soul. There's a lot of house, a lot of club stuff, and he came in. You know, never met him before, never worked with him. None of us knew him apart from him, and he came in, and just absolutely smashed it. And
Brilliant.
made the tracks. There's only 3 vocal tracks. The others are instrumentals, but he kind of made those into something they just wouldn't have been without him.
No.
And just immediately understood what we were trying to do. Added his own thing.
Yeah.
And then we had there was like the 5th track was always something I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And he said, "Well, I'll write some lyrics for it." I hadn't even got lyrics. You know, I knew we were going to do something,
Yeah.
but I was really winging it on that one. Like, I'd just come to the studio,
Yeah.
you know. And so we ended up co-writing these lyrics. It's called Tokyo.
Oh,
and,
lovely.
It's the title track of the EP.
Yeah.
I go to Japan a lot. I'm always there, and I used to live there. And I wanted it to be somehow to write a tune about the great city, the sort of kind of city of dreams, you know. And Andre just got it. He toured out there, so sort of he kind of knew what it's like, and we wrote these lyrics together, and it's just such a joy because it just worked. There's kind of some spoken word in there as well, which we got a different singer in to do.
Okay.
A guy called Jalone, who's he's from the southern state, Georgia. I think he's from Georgia.
Okay.
And he's a friend of ours, and we just needed this passage of spoken word. There's kind of a poetic. I was going to say rap, but some people might think it's rap, but it's more of a spoken delivery which scans over the beat.
Right.
But he just got that nice kind of southern accent that we needed for that, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the vocals,
right.
Andre, and he sings on three of the tracks. And then you mentioned Rob Luff. Rob Luff did the guitar.
Brilliant.
Another one who, same story really. I'd met him at Jazz Up a few times, and loved his playing. Who doesn't?
Oh yeah.
You know? And also loved his energy and his attitude, and
yeah,
we probably had a quick chat about things. And he was an obvious candidate to do the guitar. And again, he just came in and brought his own ideas, brought some beautiful things, did some interesting things, which, there's some tunes there where he just had to play this real kind of JB's funk lick.
Yeah.
Repetitive. With that old school sound.
Yeah.
Which is not what you expect him to do.
No, absolutely. But I think he quite likes that sometimes. I think he quite likes being that kind of guitarist sideman.
Yeah.
As opposed to, what he does best, really, which is that whole, his creativity and his ability to take a tune and take it in all sorts of directions. But then, as you say, to do that, do the job of the guitar sideman.
Yeah. That you're absolutely right, and he did it just brilliantly. Clearly enjoyed doing it as well, and it just what was needed. It works perfectly. Some of it is a straightforward, choppy. There's some funky licks that we just needed in the track. Just need those, but he still added his own Rob Luffness to them. They're like they've got a thing that most people wouldn't be doing, No. And then, of course, when he solos, he just went off the wonderful flights of kind of florid improvisation on it. Just fantastic, It sounded wonderful. So that was a guitar, and then I always wanted 2 horns because I love trombone and tenor.
Yeah.
And I that's what I was hearing, just the 2 horns, knowing that we'd probably double up a few parts in the studio, which we did.
Yeah.
And that was Binker Golding.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. Yeah.
I'd never worked with him before. And again, Corrie suggested Binker as being the right person for the job.
I think he's quite undervalued.
He's a very modest guy.
Very modest guy.
He's not a shouty. He doesn't.
No.
I think he posts his gigs on social media.
Yeah.
And that's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
Brilliant.
just it's a coalescing of people, isn't it? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think we got very lucky. We drew upon all our long lives of experience and contacts and really thought it through.
Yeah.
And kind of knew, well, that these guys are going to nail it.
Absolutely. I can't wait to hear the whole album, the whole EP.
I've got to mention, because there's one more person.
Oh, yeah.
And that's so once all that is done, we've got everything in place, got the horns in place, vocals, the icing on the cake, or rather the glue, or maybe the jam in the sponge cake.
Yeah.
Was the Hammond organ. And there's very little solo in any of the tracks, but we wanted that. It's always there. It's just sticking everything together. It's just, and that's Nikolai Torp Larsen from the Specials.
Goodness sake!
Yeah,
I love Nikolai.
But
when he plays, it's like he's away somewhere else, and yet so rooted in the music. Do you know what I mean? That how he manages that double thing. I mean, some of his solos are just extraordinary and almost bring you to tears.
Yeah.
I think he's just
well, he's like many players. He's been playing. He started off playing jazz.
Yeah.
He was part of that Danish jazz thing. Did some wonderful jazz albums before he started playing over here.
Yeah.
And made an incredible. What he did for the Specials, I mean, is now legendary,
absolutely,
isn't it? And the rebirth of the Specials.
Yeah.
His role in that.
Yeah.
He's such a dynamic force in music, but not to mention all the Adele and Skyfall and everything.
Well,
else.
exactly, absolutely.
If you look at his list of
it's ridiculous,
it's just
isn't
off
it?
the scale.
But I think that's because I think that's really interesting. Looking at that list of people, it's such incredible soloists, and yet they're such generous sidemen in terms of like doing their thing that makes your music sound great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. I think it's quite a small number of people you could actually say that about who, and also would get the whole do your thing as well. Because some people are like, I'm here on the session, tell me what I'm supposed to be doing, give me the music. But they understood that idea that they could also bring their ideas, which they certainly did. And that it just worked perfectly. It couldn't have gone better. I mean, we're all the same as musicians. You often look at things, oh, if only I'd done that, and I wish I'd done that. Especially after you played, you kind of analyse your own playing all the time. But it was. And thanks to everyone, it's like including James who produced it. It couldn't have gone better. I was absolutely over the moon. I can't wait to get it out there.
No, absolutely. So the first single was released in
that was April.
And what was that one called?
It's called Americanology.
Right. Okay.
So there's a kind of a nod to bebop nomenclature there with all the ologies.
Yes.
Because it's played by jazz musicians, but it's really a soul tune. It's a straight eight, and it's all about Northern soul, and that's what I was sort of brought up on as a teenager. And I wrote a piece. It's on my website. It was like we heard two-tone on Top of the Pops. We loved the Specials. We loved all that stuff. We knew about Tamla Motown. We knew about Motown. We liked that. It kind of went with that territory. And then there were kids who were a bit older who went to, because we were in the Midlands in Kettering, and there was north of that, like Leicester, Market Harbour, and then on to the north and the famous clubs that we all know about. There's quite a big scene. So at some point we were in someone's bedroom, and their big sister's Northern Soul records were there, and we were like, what the hell is this? Put it on, and it was just like, what is this? Because it's like, it's not in the charts, it's not on the radio.
No.
This is music from America from the 1960s, and as a young musician, I was playing trombone at that stage. I'd probably been playing for about 4 or 5 years. The first thing that hit me was the horns, those punchy, grooving.
Yeah.
But nothing I'd heard in the brass band that I was in.
No.
Somehow loose as well.
Yeah.
Very strident.
And also the thing I loved about all of that was you'd hear a bit of a track and then suddenly there'd be these horns and then they'd go off again and they wouldn't be, and it'd be like come back and they knew how to just do like the stabs and the little horn parts, but then when to not do it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because
exactly.
I think, you know, I can't even remember who it is. I'm not sure it's a Coltrane quote, but it's somebody who said it's about as much about the space that you leave between the notes as the notes you play.
Miles, I think.
I think it was Miles, yeah.
Absolutely, and brilliant arranging by people who just knew their business, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I really got hooked on it, like everybody did. It's a subcultural thing, and we felt of ourselves as part of us, almost like in a gang, you know.
Yeah.
And it's annoying, really, because looking back, I didn't listen to any other sort of music, like missed out on all the rock bands, you know. I listen to, like Motorhead now and think, oh, that's so good. I love the gnarliness of that.
Yeah.
Of course, we weren't allowed to listen to it then because we were like, that was another group.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Don't listen to that shit, man.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
It
was ridiculous when you look back. We were so narrow-minded, but we were obsessive about it.
Yeah.
And I think Northern Soul was obsessive to those people who got into it, and the whole business of collecting those rare records. No one's heard this one before.
No, that's right.
DJs would stop playing it if people started playing it.
Yeah. And you had to know the DJs to listen to, didn't you? Because they had you knew the people who were going to play what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. But I always felt that there just was something magical that I found moving. That there was like the way those people sang, and you kind of knew these people were somewhere on the east coast of America. You know, it was a time and a place where there was just thousands of those records, and there was a market for it, which had probably gone.
Yeah.
And somehow, it was like exotic. Something like we're getting this rarefied thing.
Yeah.
And it's never really left me. And I thought that Americanology is like, that's my tribute to that music. I want to somehow get a group of really good musicians together and kind of somehow make a tribute to it.
Yeah.
So that's Americanology.
Yeah, no, fantastic. That's brilliant.
I've got to tell you that the greatest accolade that it could have, which it's had, is it was played on a couple of Northern Soul shows, a show called Soul on Wax, and the DJs, there's 3 DJs on that, and they played. It was the first airplay it ever got.
Oh, brilliant!
And for me, I mean, most people don't know that show because they're not into soul or that kind of soul. No. But for me, it's like that's the recognition I needed for it. That's all I need now.
Yeah.
Don't care what happens to it now.
Yeah. Fantastic.
You know what I mean? It's like,
That's brilliant. So it's all coming out in October.
Yeah.
So you've got another single coming out in July.
Yes.
Which will be another little teaser. So that would be good. Yeah. So then the 100 Club gig on the 22nd of October, is that going to have those players, or are you going to have different people?
All the same.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I've made the call. Everyone's free.
Fantastic.
It's nerve-wracking because they're all, you know those guys.
They're big names.
Will they be free then?
Yeah.
If they get a 3-month tour in, they won't be. But they're free on principle. So we live in hope, and hopefully it'll happen. Got to be realistic. If some of them can't do it, then it is. But I think we can orchestrate the sound. But I'd love them to do it. That would be absolutely magical.
Yeah, and they're probably, they're the sort of people who will get there if they possibly can.
They are. They all said the same thing. I'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not like, how much is it and all that kind of. No. They're just like, we're in. Yeah, we're in.
Absolutely. And if
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they happen to be in Tokyo for the gig, they'll find somebody who can, replicate what they do.
And that's a very good point. It'd be good to discuss with them what they think might be the right person.
Absolutely.
And that's in itself quite I know Jeff very well. He's a dear friend who runs the 100 Club. when I lived in London, I spent a lot of my life in that place, hanging out at the bar and going to the wonderful gigs there and playing there.
Yeah.
And we've remained good friends. And I just happened to go down there one afternoon. Jeff always says, if you're passing, come down for a cup of tea.
Right.
And I was passing, and I did just go down, and we had a cup of tea. And it lasted about 3 hours.
Yeah.
Jeff was just chatting about the club, and then we were rambling on. And it just struck me that, this is the place to do the launch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's the right venue. I mean? Yeah, definitely. It's the right size because it's not too big.
No.
And, like you say, the bar is at the side, so it's easy. And I always like that. I hate it when you go to a club and the bar is like, downstairs or, somewhere like that, because it's not, for jazz, soul and all of the, funk things. Yeah. You want to be able to go to the bar, just in the middle of a number, go to the bar and that's fine. And nobody, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's it. And I love the 100 Club. It's been part of my musical, growing up, really.
You obviously get why.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I love the fact that it's still the same as it was. It looks
absolutely.
I can't detect any differences.
No, it's literally exactly the same. Yeah. The bars, it's like, so there are lots of other clubs that have either, obviously some of them sadly have gone completely, but some of them have sort of moved around. It's like when they moved the bar in Ronnie's from the side to the back. It's like, no, that's not where it's supposed to be. I still like to think of it down that side,
I know.
So,
I think there's a sort of there's a cultural thing with it as well, because I think a lot of the influences on the EP I've played there at some point or another.
Yeah.
And there's that kind of bluesy, soul-y, funky thing going on.
Yeah.
And it was always, for many years, it was a jazz club. So, it just feels... And of course, we are in this position where it is an incredibly... it should be like grade 1 listed national treasure.
Yeah.
Kept in cotton wool.
Yeah.
The way things are at the moment, which we all know about, that place is so important, and it feels good to be making some kind of personal connection with it. And,
absolutely.
It's thank God it's there.
Absolutely, because we have lost too many good clubs.
We really have.
The times I used to spend in the Marquee, and of course that's gone.
I never actually went to the market.
Did you not?
It was big on the R&B end of things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I played a few times. There was when the Hippodrome, it went through a stage of putting on like live music and properly, good bands, good London bands, and it was really good. And for a while, it was like this could be something, and I played there a few times and really nice. But of course, I think it's like bingo or something.
Where was the Marquee? Was that?
So the Marquee was on Tottenham Court Road. So sort of. Because Foyles has moved as well, so it was near there. Because where the Marquee was is now a club or a bar that pretends to be like the old one, but there's no music or something. It's just a bar sort of thing. But not the same at all. So Yeah. So, this is really exciting, and I look forward to seeing how that happens. But I mean, this is a great, you've got a great lineup. You've got, it sounds like it's the right time for you in terms of your songwriting, your writing, your composition. Time. So brilliant.
I think it is. You're right. These things happen, don't they? And, I've spent my life playing in bands and enjoying that very, very much. And, I knew that itch was there. There needed to be scratched of doing a solo project. And it's really, life's all about when you meet the right people, isn't it? And I've learned that over my career. It's just being in that right place and connect. There are people who enable you.
Yeah,
definitely. And you do that for other people.
Well, absolutely.
You've got to have your intelligent ears out for when you know someone's helping you. And I think everyone involved in this project has done exactly that,
That's brilliant.
And I would do the same, and that's why it's so wonderful. And music is unique like that, isn't it?
I think so. when I interviewed 18 months ago, I interviewed Christian McBride, and one of the things that he said, great guy. One of the things that he said was, if you go to a jazz gig and you want to meet the people that are playing, no matter how big they are, you almost certainly can. You know, if you hang around at the side, if you hang around in the bar afterwards, if you hang around, you know, you can meet the people that you can. You know, you can meet your heroes.
Yeah.
And that's not true in pop. You know, they'll be shifted out the back into a black car, or you know, straight away, and you won't get to meet them. And I think, you know, jazz musicians are very collaborative and inclusive, and you know, they want to meet the people that like their music because they like other people's music as well, and you know, it seems very I love being part of this community, you know.
It's such a wonderful thing. You're so right. I've just got to tell you two examples of that. One, the era when I was living in London and we were hanging out at the 100 Club, and it was that wonderful time in that early 90s when loads of jazz going on, there were loads of jams, the WAG was still going.
That was
I remember all that whole scene. For whatever reason, everyone I was hanging out with at the time, we were obsessed with Mose Allison. And of course he was playing there he came to play London, I must have seen him at least 4 times.
Wow.
He often played at Pizza on the Park.
Oh yeah,
which is now gone.
That's now gone,
It was a really good venue.
Yeah, it was.
Peter Boyd,
that's right.
It was a very sophisticated club, and he was always there. And Ray Gelato and I went to see him one night.
Right.
And we just went into the dressing room. It was a tiny little dressing room. He just sat there.
Yeah.
Right. It's Mose.
Yeah.
And he probably didn't want to talk to us. In fact, I'm sure he did. But we had to go in and say, we're so obsessed with his music. You know? And I'm like, how are you doing, Mose?
Yeah.
But he was like, as you'd expect, like, yeah, man. Yeah. Very good. That was it.
But it's almost like you have to tell them how much you enjoy their music. I think that's one of those things. There's nothing better. I mean, I've seen it at Jazz Up at Club 85 here in Hitchin. You know, where you know somebody will walk through and you'll just go, "That's great playing, mate." You know, and it's like that. You just have to say it. You know, it's just you really, and it doesn't matter almost if they don't respond or that, you know, you just have to have said it.
I think you're so right. As a musician, if you know someone liked what you played, that's great.
Yeah.
If you know they really listened, like if someone says, "Oh, I like that bit you did at the end of that solo with the mute," that's bloody hell, you actually heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it's better than all the applause.
Yeah, no,
you know
absolutely, absolutely, and you know that they've actually taken note of what you're doing and that you've done it for a purpose, and you know, do
you ever find that sometimes on gigs you find that really you're playing to the musicians, the rest of the band, or if you know there's musos in the house, and really you start finding yourself just playing, and they're listening.
There's nothing better than doing a solo and someone going, "Oh yeah, that was," you know, you can get, you know, that they've got the references that you've put in, or you know, something that you've just done. That's good.
That's a wonderful thing. I've
is.
got to tell you about the other tracks. Americanology, you've got the next one is called Blood. It's a much heavier, much funkier, much darker, but quite a dark subject. It's kind of, I'm not going to go into it now because I've got to find the time and place to articulate the story, whether or not I'm even ever going to do that. Anyone who knows me well knows what it's about, but it's a dark tune. It's called, the hook of the lyric has been it's all the positivity we've had in this interview. It's called being in the wrong place at the wrong time, which happens to people.
It does happen to people that we're close to. I know.
Right. And
absolutely.
Anyway, hopefully, and in fact I know, the track just is the track, but there is a story behind it, so that's that one. And then we've got a tune called Above the Underdog, which, if you know Mingus's autobiography called Beneath the Underdog, hilariously named Beneath the Underdog, and I read it when I was about 20. It wasn't a jazz fan that gave it to me, but as well as Mose, Mingus was the other obsession. And I love Jimmy Nepper's playing, his trombone player, who he punched in the mouth. You know, it was an awful story, and he took him to court, and it was horrible.
Right.
Mingus smashed his chops up really badly.
I think Mingus had a dark side to him, didn't he?
Anyway, that book, Beneath the Underdog, have you read it?
No, I haven't.
I don't know if I should recommend it.
Okay.
It's a hair-raising read.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's absolutely filthy in parts.
Right.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
But it's also it's a fantastic insight into the man's brain.
Right.
And there's wonderful things about Art Tatum and how... let me just...
have another
frog in
slurp.
the throat. Yeah. You know, how it's a disturbing book as well, all the racism that he suffered and the world that he inhabited is so rich and crazy and interesting. And I loved him ever since, loved all his music, played loads of his tunes. All my, gigs that I ever do, I always default to there's at least 3 Mingus tunes I have. I play them all the time.
Right.
It's like, does he know any more tunes? Do you need to know any more tunes?
Yeah.
And so that was another one. I've got to write a tune for Mingus from the UK, and I thought I'm going to redress the balance and call it Above the Underdog, not Beneath the Underdog.
Yeah,
it's a celebration.
Brilliant.
And then the other one is called Eduardo's Dream, and that's about a great friend of mine called Eduardo Paolozzi. He was a sculptor, and many people would say he was the father of British pop art. A lot of his, I'll show you on the way out, a lot of his pictures in the hall there. And a great, titan of the British art scene, sadly no longer with us, but he was a really dear friend of mine, and he loved jazz, and we used to go to gigs and things, and he was a wonderful, one of the art that he's probably most famous for is this wonderful sort of pop art collages, like 20th century ephemera that you'll see them. We'll have a look in a minute, and I thought it'd be interesting to do a track that somehow is approached like that, and that he would like if he was still around.
Right.
And so that's the tune for him.
Right.
And then finally, the one I mentioned is Tokyo, which is, it's kind of, if you ever go to Tokyo, you'll get it. It's sort of mega city one. It's like Blade Runner, sci-fi, neon, never endlessly pulsating, kind of biggest city in the world.
Right.
And the tune kind of imagines that we're flying above it somehow.
Okay.
And the lyrics like you're flying, and it was somehow try and put that city into a song, which is so they're all the tracks. It's like this suite of eclectic, but they're all things that it's like stuff that has meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we want to do in music, and try and write stuff that get our stuff out, get
absolutely.
our shit out,
Yeah, absolutely.
How therapeutic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly what. And if you can't do it on your solo project, when can you do it?
No, exactly. You only get a chance to do it. You've got to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic.
So they're all the tunes, and hopefully I think that they're coming from different places, but they fit together very well because of the people who played them are playing.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing all of those.
Yeah, and you've got to come to the launch, of course.
Obviously, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. It's been
Have I
a real pleasure.
Long?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's been brilliant.
You know what we're like as horn players, talk about myself. Have you got another 4 hours? I'm here.
Exactly.
I took the day off. I thought,
Absolutely. I know what that's like. Brilliant.
No, thanks for listening as well.
Thanks for joining me for that episode of Harmonious World. I hope you enjoyed listening to my chat with Dave Keech. It's lovely to talk to people live in the same room, and I've got a few of those coming up. So what you're listening to now is the tail end of Americanology, and of course we're looking forward to the rest of that EP coming out in October. Please do like, share, subscribe, all of those things wherever you found Harmonious World, and please do check out the reviews of live gigs and albums, and the links are all in the show notes, and also there's a link there to how you can support the show. So meanwhile, I hope you have a really good week and keep listening to Harmonious World. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.